Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Monday, July 21st, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Social media shocked and stunned over a video out of Jacksonville, Florida, where a black man is snatched out of his car, beaten by cops over headlights not being on at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. We'll talk with Harry Daniels, the attorney representing the family of this young man. It is a shocking story that's led now to an investigation. Also, New polling from BlackPAC shows how black folks feel about Donald Trump, but also at the Democratic Party. Adrianne Shropshire of BlackPAC will join us on today's show. Southern University has expelled Omega Psi Phi from its campus after the death of someone who was pledging the organization. We'll tell you about that. Plus, 4 law enforcement officials, including 3 sheriffs in Louisiana, arrested by the feds for, corruption over taking kickbacks from undocumented immigrants. And Gen Xers shocked and stunned over the drowning death of the Cosby Show star Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Folks, and lastly, Donald Trump's trying to get us to stop paying attention to Jeffrey Epstein. So what do they do today? They release files regarding the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His family responds. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's rolling Martin, rolling with rolling now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's rolling Martin now.
When he pulled me over, he walked up, opened my door because my window don't work, right? Okay. And then I said, so what I did wrong? Yeah. He said, well, for one, your headlights are off under this weather. I'm like, okay. There's multiple people headlights off, first of all. And then there's no rain.
It doesn't matter. You're still required to have headlights on.
Can you pull that law up?
Huh?
Can you pull that law up?
Yeah, when you step out of the car, I will.
Can you call your supervisor?
Huh?
Can you call your supervisor?
All right, go for it.
Exit the vehicle now. Exit the vehicle. Show me your hands.
Here.
33 at 15 hours.
I'm here. What is your reason, sir?
Step out.
What is your reason?
Step out now.
All right.
Get on the ground.
No.
Get on the ground.
Stop fighting.
Put your hands behind your back.
Put your hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
What's wrong with you?
I was putting my hands behind my back. I was
Ain't no talking now, man. Ain't no talking.
I'm fucking tooth and shit, bro. I was fooling, bro. What's going on, man?
You're under arrest. That's what's going on.
No, bro.
Yes, bro.
You
Yes.
have a lawful reason, bro.
Big knife center in here, too.
You gonna throw me one like that, bro?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it off of you, bro. Yeah.
And I'm just trying to have a regular conversation with y'all, bro.
That's not how it works.
Too late. It ain't gonna too late.
When they asked you to step out of the vehicle, you should have done that shit.
Sir, your partner didn't even ask.
Marijuana in his right pocket.
Yes, it is.
So why close the door if you see him pull up?
Because, man, what you mean? He talking about arresting me and stuff, bro. I didn't do nothing.
It's called resisting, idiot.
I didn't do nothing wrong, sir. Can you back me up to the car so I can clean up?
Shut up.
Young man, William McNeil Jr., that took place in Jacksonville, Florida. That video has spread like wildfire all across social media. The Jacksonville folks there, law enforcement there, they've launched an investigation into what happened there. Joining us right now is Harry Daniels. He represents McNeil. Harry, glad to have you back on the show. Unfortunately, it's always when it comes to one of these stories. And what the hell here? I'm confused. So when you hear him on the video, first, before I even get to that, the cops always give one story, then the video tells another story. So they do a report saying they claim they saw a weapon, a knife. But in the video, they tell him to put his hands up. He puts his hands up. He asks for a supervisor, and they proceed to bust the windshield. So what was the logic behind this? They were saying that he didn't have his headlights on in this kind of weather. Was it storming? Was it cloudy? Was it raining? Was it a hurricane?
Thanks, Roland, for having me on. I mean, obviously, unfortunate circumstance why I'm here, but thanks for having us on. Ben Crump and myself represent Mr. McNeil and McNeil family in this matter. The law in Florida states that if it's raining, fog, or smoke, then you're required to have your headlamps on. Roland, it was not raining, it was not foggy, nor was it smoking. So he was not required to have his headlamps on. In fact, just recently, the JSO Sheriff Office just released body camera footage. They just released it within the last 30 minutes, and it clearly showed it was not raining, foggy, nor smoky. So the stop was absolutely unlawful, unjustified. I mean, we can expand all day. The knife that he had played no part in it. The video tells the exact story. The sheriff position is that, it doesn't tell the whole story. It tells the entire story. Mr. McNeil clearly was complying with them and asking for a supervisor because he believed what they told him while he was stopped was a lie and not true. It was a lie. In fact, the elements on the video shows it was not raining, foggy, or smoky. So he's now concerned, very afraid of why an officer has pulled him over and told him he's pulling him over, something that he did not do. So first thing, we got to look at the stop and an unlawful stop. The next thing, he's asking for a supervisor. He's clearly asking for a supervisor to come out to the scene, explain it to him. These officers were not hearing it. They broke his window, punched him in his face, pulled him out the car, had him at gunpoint. Apparently what's been told by a client that he was held at gunpoint. We didn't see that video that they released. Pulled him out the car, punched him in the face again, slammed him on the ground, and beat him while he was on the ground. Mr. McNeil suffered from 9 stitches. His tooth went through his lip, a closed head injury, memory loss. Then the next day he goes to court, and the charges of the light, the seatbelt was dismissed. The small amount of marijuana he had in his pocket was dismissed, and they said he pleaded guilty to resisting and driving without a driver's license. All of this for this young man to be beaten the way he was beaten. And Roland, what it shows is exactly what America we in. You try to justify these acts, and you wonder why we keep coming on this show, why me, myself, and Ben Crump, other civil rights attorneys keep having these cases. Because, one, the officers, after the incident, they presented a false report to their superiors. They did not even report the use of force to their superiors, particularly that they had to punch him or Mr. McNeil received injuries. So you have a false narrative being played out. Then you try to Monday morning quarterback this thing and say, oh, he have a knife. But he never reached for a knife. He never reached for any weapon. It's not unlawful to have a knife. Hell, he's in Jacksonville. He may need a knife based on some places he go in Jacksonville. That something happened to him. But nevertheless, the video speaks for itself. This is sickening. This young man was beaten for no reason. In Jacksonville Sheriff Office, the district attorney's office is not doing anything about it. So that's why myself and Ben had to come in and try to get some redress for this family and seek every angle that we can seek to try to bring accountability to this situation. Now, I will tell you, Roland, the sheriff said he have removed the officer from his law enforcement duties at this time, but they clearly stated that there was no criminal act taking place. That's absolutely absurd. If you punch somebody in the face or I punch somebody in the face, we're going to go to jail. We're going to get charged. Just because he wears bad shield of star, don't give him a pass.
So this is where I'm confused. It's a headlight. Are you trying to tell me that a basic headlight required all of that? That's a misdemeanor ticket.
It's not even a misdemeanor. It's a criminal. It's an infraction at all. It's not even considered a crime. It's considered a civil violation, meaning that you cannot be arrested for it. But he got beat for it, and the fact remains that he didn't even violate the rule of law. That infraction itself is a civil violation. The only thing you have to do in civil violations, a seatbelt, $15 fine, headlamps, fine, and him to get out the car. Get out the car. We can talk about all day what the procedure policy, but the fact remains they wanted him out the car because he was a black man driving in Jacksonville, and they want to see, he was engaged in criminal activity. That's his bottom line what happened. And when he refused to do so, they beat him. They beat him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any other reason watching this. It just makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. And I'm just going, and we talk about this over and over and over again. It's always a basic traffic stop that all of a sudden goes haywire.
Man, we've seen it over and over. We've seen seatbelt violations in Jacksonville that leads to people being killed. We've seen a vicious beating of LaKen Woods, the killing of Jamie Johnson. The list goes on and on. The common denominator you have is a young black male in Jacksonville and rogue police officers who act as thugs. Jacksonville is not quote, and you can quote me on it, is the most corrupt, the most dangerous police department in the United States of America. They investigate themselves. Nobody's going to find wrongdoing and investigate themselves. And in this situation, the sheriff punted it to the lawyers, the district attorney's office to determine criminality. That's not the district attorney's job. That's the law enforcement job to bring the charges and the district attorney to prosecute. But when it's a police officer, got another standard. They should be held to a higher standard. It's a shame. We are seeking all redress. Yeah, we're going to seek redress of the Trump's Department of Justice. We're going to do everything we can do in order to bring accountability. I know a lot of legislators, a lot of representatives are getting involved. The NAACP are mobilizing in this matter, as they should, because this one you can't explain. This kid's never been arrested before. We had a picture where he was a band member in the band. I think he maybe played the trombone. Good kid, never been arrested. And the only reason he pled guilty to resisting arrest and driver's license because he was afraid. He'd never been in jail before. He was scared. He was ready to get out of there. But the fact remains that we should be outraged and disappointed and move to action, because we're thankful that Mr. McNeil is here today. But it's been a matter of saying that he did something, he tried to reach for a gun or he did this and they would have shot him dead. So let it be clear. We are pursuing this. This is not a death case, but these are the cases that we pursue so we don't have to get to a death case. I don't take any pride in representing people or want to represent people who have been killed by law enforcement, brutalized by law enforcement. We want to intervene and intercept to stop it from happening, and we need the public support and help to do it. Vote, get rid of people, protest. It's time for a movement for this to stop happening in America.
This is the statement from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. We are aware of a video circulating on social media showing a traffic stop represented to be from February 19, 2025. We have launched an internal investigation into it and the circumstances surrounding this incident. We hold our officers to the highest standards and are committed to thoroughly determining exactly what occurred. So why?
It's not true. That statement's not true. They don't hold anybody to standards in Jacksonville. I've got plenty of cases. They whitewashed it, covered up. They don't hold any particular standards. TK Ward is an African-American sheriff. He cannot control his agency. He points things over to the district attorney's office, state's attorney's office. He turned blind eyes to things his officers doing. And, and actually it was a case with Jamie Johnson and LaKen Woods.
What is the, I'm confused. Hold up. You said it's a black sheriff?
Yeah, he's black.
Hold on, there's a black sheriff in Jacksonville. Oh, it also jumps out. This was 5 months ago. Why is it coming out now?
Well, the video came out. They were aware of it. They said they weren't aware of it. That my client to make a complaint. One, he was very afraid. He didn't know what to do. He never been faced in the criminal justice system. Not until he got his lawyers and we try to help him out and get some redress for him. He didn't know what to do. But the fact remains, in the report, they had an opportunity to look at these body cameras. They chose not to look at the body cameras, or if they did look at the body cameras, they covered it up. But now, since it's circulated with a video, they're trying to backtrack. You're trying to backtrack. Oh, we're going to investigate it now. No, you're supposed to investigate it when it happened, long before. But this is TK Waters and his administration, and he recently just did an interview before I came on, just for the last 30 minutes, and he basically said that the district attorney's office, the state's attorney's office, found that the officer did not engage in any criminal activity. And when he was questioned by the reporters about the circle punch, he got very defensive, didn't want to talk about it. He basically ran from it. So we need to make sure we hold him accountable as the sheriff, as same as the person we hold accountable that did the punching.
So, wait a minute. So he's making excuses?
Oh, he said he had, listen, Mark Rowland, he punted it. He said that he allowed the district attorney or the state's attorney's office to look at to determine there was no criminal charges. But he suspended or put the officers on administrative leave or remove him from his duties. He have no police functions whatsoever. But he don't have the courage to do right by the citizens that put him in office. And unfortunately, the black people, majority of the time in Jacksonville, are terrorized by Jacksonville Sheriff's Office under his watch. And he continually to punt. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office are not investigated by an outside agency. There's no outside agency. Roland, let me ask you this question. How can you make a determination in one day that the acts were non-criminal when you did not even question the victim in the case? What type of investigation is that? It's not one. It's a whitewash cover-up to try to divert. But we ain't going anywhere. We coming down there Wednesday for a press conference right in front of that sheriff's office and demand accountability.
This is some of the news conference where the sheriff talked. Roll it.
And from our Director of Homeland Security and Investigations, our integrity unit also falls underneath him. That's why he's joining me up here this evening. Today, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office is releasing information regarding the circumstances of William Anthony McNeil Jr.'s arrest on February 19th of 2025. Yesterday, while I was in church, JSO became aware that cell phone camera footage purportedly of this arrest was circulating on social media. At my direction, the agency immediately began both a criminal and administrative review of the officer's actions. These administrative reviews are ongoing, but the State Attorney's Office has determined that none of the involved officers violated criminal law. Even though the administrative review has yet to be completed, we are releasing the body-worn camera footage today because Officer Bowers has consented to its release and waived his officer's bill of rights pertaining to the discrete piece of evidence. Because the administrative review is pending, the officer's bill of rights prevents me from releasing any additional information beyond these videos, as it is confidential under Florida Statute 112.532. As JSO's leader, I have vowed to be open and transparent with the public that we serve. Whether the information shared reflects well in this agency or not, I have always done my very best to tell the public exactly what's going on within the agency. When there are allegations of officer misconduct, our agency thoroughly investigates those allegations. When allegations of officer misconduct are sustained, we hold officers accountable, as I've done many times in the past. In this case, the cell phone camera footage that began viral circulation over the weekend does not comprehensively capture the circumstances surrounding this incident, and that is to be expected. Part of that stems from the distance and perspective of the recording cell phone camera. Another part of it stems from the fact that the cell phone camera did not capture the events that preceded Officer Bowers' decision to arrest McNeil. Moreover, cameras can only capture what can be seen and heard. So much context and depth are absent from recorded footage because the camera simply cannot capture what is known to the people depicted in it. As a 33-year law enforcement officer, I understand the importance of thorough and complete investigations. One piece of evidence considered in a vacuum without any context can lead to skewed conclusions. When incomplete cell phone camera footage becomes the basis on which public opinion turns, the results can be equally faulty. A rush to judgment, whether it be in a criminal investigation or in a court of public opinion, can lead to flawed conclusions. Tonight, I'm sharing the footage from the body-worn cameras of the arresting officer, Officer D. Bowers, and two of the assisting officers, Officer D. Miller and Officer G. Curse, so that the public has more complete understanding of this incident. Before I deliver the currently available information and play the relevant body-worn camera, I want to be clear about something. Yes, there absolutely was force used by the arresting officers, and yes, that force is ugly. But as I've said many times before, the reality is that all force, all violence is ugly. And just because force is ugly does not mean it's unlawful or contrary to policy. But moreover, I want to provide the public with some background information pertinent to this incident. Since January 1st, 2025, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has been involved in 38,805 traffic stops. Even as I speak, that number is climbing. The overwhelming majority of these tens of thousands of traffic stops were made without incident. After this traffic stop on February 19, 2025, McNeil was arrested for resisting.
All right, so, okay, I listened to all of that. Now, one of the things that he says, Harry, is that, they didn't do anything criminal. Well, did they violate department policy? I mean, everything doesn't rise to criminal. And then to sit here and say, well, you really can't tell just by this particular video. Okay, fine, explain to us then.
That's real sad. That this man, how many years of law enforcement you say he had?
33 years.
And he can't determine a assault and battery by somebody getting punched in the face is not provoked. That tells me that his ass need to be fired or resign.
So here's what he did. So he said, at least the body cam footage. This is from First Coast News here. So he says, well, we need to have the proper context. This is one of the officers getting out of the car. All right, so let's go ahead and play this.
Can you unlock the door and step out? I will. Can you step out? You're being done. There's a traffic stop being conducted. You're required to comply. So, yes. Correct. Huh? Okay. So what did he ask for when he I guess, taught you? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I said, so what I did wrong?
Yeah.
He said, well, for one, your headlights are off under this weather. I'm like,
okay.
There's multiple people there.
Okay, that's still a legitimate reason to pull somebody over.
There's no way.
It doesn't matter. You're still required to have headlights on. Huh? Yeah, when you step out of the car, I will. Huh? All right, go for it.
All right, so I want to stop it right there. So already there's an officer on the scene. This other officer comes up, and then he says, oh, you're resisting. Well, we know from his body cam, from his footage, that he wasn't resisting. He was talking to them the whole time. Now
you can't resist an unlawful arrest.
Now this officer is sitting here. I mean, he's talking to him. Both are having a conversation. Then all of a sudden, from this body cam footage we see here, he basically gives them the order, okay, y'all go ahead and bust the window. Well, we know from your client's video, he simply requested to talk to a supervisor. So was this guy here, the angle we see, was he a supervisor?
No, he wasn't. It was not. They refused to bring the supervisor to the scene.
So then we see the pulling up. So if I roll a video, we've got one car on the scene, car just pulls up, another car. So we now have 3 police cars. It looks like more are on the way for a headlight traffic stop.
There's about 5 or 6 police cars that came out there.
Wow.
Complete waste of resources for a black man that didn't have his headlights on during the day.
I mean,
if you notice, they came up, they didn't have their headlights on either.
I mean, I'm just trying to. So now we see right here. Okay, so then they're unbuckling him. His hands are up. They're pulling him out of the car. Then all of a sudden, that's when he got punched, and now they're slamming him to the ground. I'm for your headlights not being on. So we've got 4 officers detaining him, and 1 guy standing there. So we got 5 cops because your headlights are not on. Wow.
Don't forget during the day. You keep during the day. The headlights not on during the day.
Wow. And we did see some drops on his windshield, but right now it's not raining right now.
Not raining. That's what he told me. It's not raining.
Wow. This is. Look
at that. His headlight is not on. When you see the video, it's a pretext for unlawful stop. Whatever the reason they want to stop him for, they tried to make it up. They say they didn't have a seatbelt on. You can see the video. They had a seatbelt on. I mean, this is bad, and it shows what people have been saying for years, that these unwarranted police plus pretextual stops that lead into these black men and people being shot and killed by the police, and they try to whitewash it and try to create this own narrative that XYZ was happening, none of it was happening. Roland, they got caught. They didn't know the video was running. And when they found out the video was running, you see at the end of the video, the officer reaches and turns it off. Yeah, they got caught. They got caught. And it's time for them to get caught because it's time for accountability. The Jacksonville Sheriff Office and the city of Jacksonville need a complete makeover. And we plan on to do everything we can do to give them that makeover.
And I think this is the body cam footage of the officer that grabbed him.
That's a striking officer body cam.
All right, guys, turn this video audio up.
And you can see here when he.
So if y'all just saw that, no, stay it on here. I want you to see what he just did. It's at the 110 mark. You're going to see he asked for a supervisor. He asked for a supervisor, and then all of a sudden he asked for a supervisor twice or three. Watch this here. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm telling you why I pull you over. Give me your driver's license. Call your supervisor. Then why? Excuse me? Call your supervisor. Why'd you put me over? And then right there, signal 35, requesting backup, uncooperative adult driver. The fact of the matter is, he is cooperating. Keep rolling, turn it up. You see the car pull up with no headlights on? Right.
Sir, it's your last warning to open the vehicle and exit before we're going to break the window.
No windshield wipers on.
Open the door and exit,
nothing.
or we are going to break the window. Open the door and exit, or we are going to break the window. No, he's under arrest. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting.
All right. Harry, I noticed nowhere on those 2 body cam videos did I ever hear somebody mention knife.
They didn't know his knife was there. They didn't know that. They didn't see a knife. After the fact, when they searched the vehicle, when they put him, got him, placed him in handcuffs in the car, then they searched the vehicle and they found a knife. They didn't know about any knife or anything. That was a narrative after the fact that to try to justify their acts. But the video shows the body, not the body camera, but the cell phone footage shows that he never reached down. He was complying with them. When they broke the window, he stood right there. He made no sudden moves. It was completely unwarranted and unprovoked. So, this is America we live in. That some law enforcement officers, and I respect law enforcement officers, the good ones, that do their job every day, a difficult job it may be, but the ones that's the bad apples, we need to remove them because they spoiled a bunch. And this officer, in this case, or this thug in this case, broke the window, punched him in his face, pulled him out of the car, and he punched him again. We're talking about the second. He punched him twice, slammed him on the ground, and they continued to beat him when he was on the ground. No justification, and we look forward to doing our job here. It's this one case that me and I we're locked in on. We locked in on all our cases, but it's something that we need to address. It's not a death case. It's not a police-involved shooting case, but it's equally important because these cases that we attack and we weed out those officers and change policies, then we may not have to reach the death cases that we do across this country.
All right, Ben. Harry Daniels, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roland. Take care, man.
Got to go to a break. We'll be right back with my panel. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Donnie, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
On our next A Balanced Life, we talk about how to get in touch with your feelings, emotions, how to find your North Star, and how to move your life along.
Because oftentimes what we'll do is we'll accept what the world says about us as the truth and how we see ourselves, which that could be completely contrary to what the Word of God says about who you are.
That's on the next A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Black Americans have 1/10 the wealth of their white counterparts. But how did we get here? It's a huge gap. Well, that's why we need to know the history and what we need to do to turn our income into wealth. Financial author and journalist Rodney Brooks joins us to tell us exactly what we need to do to achieve financial success.
You can't talk about why we are, as Black people, where we are, unless you talk about how we got here.
Bridging the Gap and Getting Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we look at one of the most influential and prominent Black Americans of the 20th century. His work literally changed the world. Among other things, he played a major role in creating the United Nations. He was the first African American and first person of color to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And yet today, he is hardly a household name. We're talking, of course, about Ralph J. Bunche. A new book refers to him as the absolutely indispensable man.
His lifelong interest and passion in racial justice, specifically in the form of colonialism. And he saw his work as an activist and advocate for the Black community here in the United States as just the other side of the coin of his work trying to roll back European empire in Africa.
Author Cal Rostiala will join us to share his incredible story. That's on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
All right, folks, introducing my pal, Dr. Omega Congo, the senior professor of Lecture School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racism. Dr. Niambi Carter, associate professor, School of Public Policy, University of Maryland, author of American While Black, African Americans, Immigration, and the Limits of Citizenship. Dr. Larry J. Walker, associate professor, University of Central Florida, out of Orlando. Glad to have all three of you here. Larry, I'll start with you. Again, if you are a black man in America and you're being pulled over for your headlights not being on in inclement weather, that brother asked for a supervisor, and he hears this cop call in, and so he's like, hey, I don't trust it. Man, let me close my door. Let me sit inside my vehicle, because the safest place for me is inside of my vehicle. For all these people who go, well, why didn't you just comply? Because we've seen way too many stories of basic traffic stops lead to somebody dying. Homeboy was like, please call your supervisor, because I don't know what's going on. I'm with him 100%.
So one of the things we have to talk about is Black people are 2-3 times more likely to be killed when they interact with law enforcement. And so this has been ongoing for generations in the Black community. We talk about the talk we have with our children about if they interact with law enforcement. But Roland, this is another incident where Black folks we are traumatized by this. And you're right. They got caught because they didn't realize the video was running and it recorded everything. And the sheriff, talking about, discussing his perspective like he's Spike Lee or something in terms of the video record. We can clearly see, at least from this side in which the officer punched the young brother more than one time. We can see what's going on from that side, and we can see clearly he's talking to the other officer calmly, and the other officer's calmly having a conversation with him. But this idea about he was pulled over with his head, I've never heard anyone being pulled over especially in the afternoon. Look, it rains in Florida, it gets crazy, but you can clearly see, and I've driven in Florida more times than I can count when, maybe or maybe not, there's a little bit of drizzle. But once again, it was a pretext to a stop. The attorney hit it right on the nose. As soon as I saw the video, when I heard about the story recently, last couple of days, I knew what was going on. We all know what's going on. And you got to hold these individuals accountable. Because, listen, Roland, we're all here having these conversations on TV. And look, I live in Florida. This is real. This is not a TV show. This can happen to any one of us at any time. We're all very aware of it. And because we have to be aware of it, we have to talk about it. We have to hold those individuals accountable. Because if we don't, once again, these issues, these incidents will continue to occur. And I just saw recently, for the last few minutes, that the officer in Breonna Taylor case was given 3 years from a judge. So coincidentally, we're still having the same conversation. But we have to hold individuals accountable.
Omega Congo, this is reality. This brother, McNeil, he wasn't cursing at the cop. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't screaming. He asked, why'd you pull me over? And he then says, please, get your supervisor. Said it 3 times. The guy wouldn't do it, so that's when he closed his door. He's resisting. All the cop had to do was, he's requesting a supervisor, call a supervisor. But they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do it.
My wife and I have been together since high school, dated and then married and everything. Years of buying gifts and presents for each other. Roland, what she bought me about 4 or 5 years ago, she bought me a dash cam. So that I could possibly be in a situation where I have to record my own beatdown or something worse. And so, when Larry's talking about this being traumatic, this being, problematic for our community and it being real, this is very real. The fact that that man is clearly younger than all of us, knew what he had to do, the 10 and 2, the hands on the steering wheel, set the recording, and this, as you asked the lawyer, happening in February. And now the officers, the sheriffs wants to talk about it because this brother and his team had to take it upon themselves to show the world that everyone else had been lied to by these individuals. This is what we have to do as Black people every day. This is also a reminder that when we talk about issues relating to police and police brutality and misconduct, that is not Black versus white, it's Black versus blue. Because those are 2 white cops and 2 Black cops in that video that I saw. And so every single day we have to make sure we're rallying to support this brother. I don't know what's going to happen in Ron DeSantis, Florida, but we also do have the court of public shame and public opinion. And we need to make sure that, these officers know in our communities that we're not appreciating this. And none of us are wishing, bad things to happen to them physically or violence to come their way, anything like that. I'm talking about just the public shame. It needs to happen because they need to know that we take our lives seriously, that we take our families seriously, and that we're going to do everything. We talked about Sandra Bland last week. We're talking about Breonna Taylor now. This is nonstop with us. And as you have mentioned on this show many times, Roland, killings by the police of Black people and Black men in particular have gone up since George Floyd was murdered, not down. And this is the latest example. And the last thing I'll say, I'm so glad the brother said that we also have to pay attention to the people who survive the police brutalities, not just the one who lose their lives, because their lives still matter too.
Niambe is jacked up as hell to be Black in this country, and a gift that you're given is a damn dash cam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the stuff that white folk don't understand.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think what my colleagues have just brought up is the fact that we focus on the deaths because those are more spectacular. But the routine, run-of-the-mill nature of the abuse that average citizens encounter when dealing with the police is far more prevalent and far more common. How many times have we been cursed at by a police officer when all you had to do was write the ticket? Right? How many times have we been, roughed up, pulled on, by these officers? And it is not, unfortunately exclusive to one particular place or one particular gender, right? Because while Black men are more likely to be killed, Black women are more likely to be killed by the police too. And that's something that all of us need to recognize. And I remember watching that video and holding my breath and just being thankful that that young man is alive and can go home to his family. And I hope, as Omakongo brought up a moment ago, that we can continue to support these people, support our communities, and support our families, because this stuff takes a toll on us mentally and physically. When you go outside and you are afraid to do the most basic things because we don't know if we are going to get home at the end of a night or at the end of an afternoon in this particular case, for something that is as small as whether his headlights were on. I mean, I think about the young boy that got killed in Minnesota for an air freshener, right? Like the stops are the danger, right? The stops, having to interact with the police is the danger. These people are not public servants anymore. And I think what we saw in this particular case, the officer just was on an ego trip and a power trip. There was nothing there that warranted him breaking out that window, pulling him out of that car, and doing any of the other things that that young man had to suffer. And so, unfortunately, we're going to continue to see more of this stuff, not less. And I think this administration emboldens this kind of activity. The fact that that sheriff is still trying to defend the indefensible means that this is going to continue to happen at law enforcement agencies across this country.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. We're going to talk about a new poll from BlackPAC. It details how Black folks feel about Donald Trump. It also speaks about how black folks feel about the Democratic Party. You don't want to miss that conversation. Don't forget to support the work that we do here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year, which is $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. When you support this show plus the other shows on our network, of course, we have the conversations other folks do not want to have. And so you want to support us via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App pay button to contribute. You can also use this QR code for the purpose of credit cards. Checks and money orders make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mailed to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats like identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Like, absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? It's Tammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks at BlackPAC commissioned pollster Cornell Belcher to do a poll showing where Black America stands in the first 100 days of the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief, Donald the Con Big Ankles Trump, and their results speak very loudly in terms of how we feel. Adrianne Shropshire is the executive director. She joins us right now of BlackPAC. Glad to have you here. Yeah, we just call it what it is. Everything I said is factual. So let's go right to it. Adrianne, what jumps out at you in this poll?
A lot. I think one of the things that stood out to both me and Cornell really is the mood of Black folks in this country right now. The numbers are striking and I would say historic. We have, something like 85% of the Black voters that we surveyed saying that they are dissatisfied with the direction of the country, 75% saying that the economy is getting worse. Almost no one believes that the economy is getting better, maybe 5% of the folks that we talk to. Donald Trump's numbers are at historic lows. 84% of the voters we talk to disapprove of him. With 72% of those people strongly disapproving of him. The numbers for Republicans in Congress are in the exact same place as his numbers. We've been polling, I think we talked about this before, we've been asking folks over time what they think is the single greatest threat to the Black community, and time again, and including this time, Black say that the presidency of Donald Trump, this second term, is the single greatest threat to the Black community. But we also see, as you alluded to, some numbers that should concern the Democratic Party. We see a majority of Black voters disapproving of the Democratic Party right now. We see when we ask folks how do they feel about the Democratic Party, we see the numbers being down across the board, sort of regardless of demographic within the Black electorate. And that includes the numbers being down with boomers and the numbers being down with Black women. And when you have those two numbers going down, then you know that the Democratic Party is in trouble.
What are they saying specifically about the Democratic Party?
I mean, I think they're saying what we're hearing from lots of people, but maybe more strongly. They're saying they don't believe that that the Democratic Party fights for the issues that are important to the Black community. They say they think they are not showing up as fighters. They don't see them as strong. They see them as weak in this moment. People want generational change, which came through in the polling. And I think that there is this, when we look at the kind of postmortems and memos and strategy memos that we're seeing come out from some Democratic circles or circles within the Democratic Party right now saying that, Democratic candidates need to just talk about economic issues. They need to talk about bread and butter issues. They just need to focus on the economy. I think Black voters in this poll, but also in some focus groups that we did earlier in the year, really reject that. Like, of course, people care about the economy, but they also care about other issues, right? They care about the rise in racism, right? They care about what seems like a loss of economic and educational opportunity. They care about the Supreme Court rolling back in our rights, or not even rolling them back, eliminating our rights. And they want Democratic candidates who are going to speak to that. They don't want a candidate who is just going to show up and reduce everything that matters to us to just dollars and cents.
Also here, key takeaway, go to my iPad. It says Black voters overwhelmingly reject the idea that the fight against ICE and deportations, quote, isn't our fight. The majority of Black voters are not, in fact, in a mood to pull back and disengage in the line of fire, but rather are anxious about the best ways to engage. And that's really, frankly, saying something to a lot of our legacy civil rights groups. They've been demanding they engage, but folks are saying, hey, we need a plan of action to know how to engage.
I think that's right. And I want to jump to that first point that you made. We asked this question because we were deeply concerned about what we were seeing on social media in terms of accounts, allegedly Black accounts saying things like, people are being deported. This is not our fight. Latinos voted for Trump. So, F around and find out. And we wondered how much of that was actually just sort of propaganda. It began to look like us, and still does, like the same kind of propaganda efforts that we saw during the campaign, where Black accounts would start telling Black folks, oh, stay home, this election doesn't matter, it's not important for our community. It looked like propaganda. So we wanted to ask Black folks, is this fight against deportation and ICE our fight, or is it not? And people overwhelmingly said that it was, because of course, when masked men start showing up in our neighborhoods, and I'm in Los Angeles, so our neighborhoods are integrated here. So when masked men are showing up in our neighborhoods, snatching people off the street and disappearing them, right, kidnapping them, of course that's Black folks' fight, because we know what that is. And so we wanted to make sure that we were clear and that other people were clear, that there was public, data about how Black people actually feel, and not just the accounts on social media. But I think that you're right as well. People are looking for ways to figure out how to engage. People want to engage. They know that we need to be in this fight, and they want, certainly from the existing organizations, but also new efforts, right, that are coming around. We see all of the protests that are happening, et cetera, that we're seeing folks engaging in. But we also want to, I think that people are clear that protests aren't the only way for Black people to show that they are resisting, and people are looking for guidance.
One of the things that your poll also looks at, and I have been talking about this, and I graduated from Texas A&M in 1991, and I've been looking at this even when I was there, and when I was on CNN, I was on TV One, on Tom Joyner Morning Show. People kept telling me I was crazy, and I'm like, I'm trying to tell y'all. I said, as each year progresses, you're going to see African Americans less self-identify as Democrat, which means that Democrats have to work harder to keep those folks in the fold. Well, your poll shows it. Baby boomers, folks 61 to 78 years old. Come on, guys, go to my iPad. It shows you they are the orange line. Well, right there, it shows July 2025, 72% self-identify as Democrats. If you look at Gen X, that's my group, that's 59%. That's a 13-point gap. Well, if you go to millennials, that's the next generation, 29 to 44, it's an 11-point gap. But here's what jumps out. It was only from the moment Vice President Kamala Harris got the nomination in August of 2024, it was a 2% drop from then to now among baby boomers. a 5% drop by Gen X between then and now, but a 13% drop from millennials. And so if you're a Democrat running for Congress next year, for the United States Senate, if you're Senator John Ossoff in Georgia, whoever's going to be the Democratic nominee in North Carolina or in any other states, what this poll says to every, and I'm being very specific, to every white Democratic strategist, every white media buyer, if y'all think you are going to win by spending the same amount of money and time on black people, you're crazy. I have been arguing, they got to spend 3 to 4 times as much money to target black folks, to invest in black folks, because they're saying, hey, it ain't guaranteed. It doesn't mean they may not vote Democrat, but the self-identification part is a significant predictor as to whether or not they will turn out and vote.
A lot about how people feel about Democrats that we saw in other parts of the poll as well, right? So it says a lot about, whether or not people feel like Democrats are taking their vote for granted. And that was a question in the poll, and people said, yes, they feel like Democrats take black folks for granted, right? So this is and I think that we've seen this trend. So you're right, you talking about how far you were going back saying this to folks. We've been seeing this in our polling over the last, 9 years that BlackPAC has been doing polling, is that people are identifying less and less. And to your point, it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't support Democrats. It means that they question whether or not Democrats are actually the party for black people. Now, to also be clear, they don't think the Republicans are. So right. That's not they're not going on.
And that's where the option then becomes either you're going to support the Democratic candidate or you're just going to check out.
That's right. And that is a lot of what we saw in 2024, right? When we think about the numbers of folks who did not show up. And we know that was those decisions to stay home happened early, some of it because people were being inundated by right-wing propaganda, mis and disinformation campaigns that had been going on for years at that point. And so the point that you made, which is accurate, when we think about the resources that we need to spend to be able to help folks understand, and feel good about showing up and turning out because it's going to make a difference. Those resources need to increase, but they also need to start sooner. So anybody in the Democratic right now who thinks that they can wait until 2026 start resourcing both communications and even door-to-door conversations with black folks, you are sadly mistaken. Because Republicans are in people's social media feeds right now. And if folks think that they can wait, they're just setting themselves up and setting the country up for another catastrophic failure.
Now, before I go to my panel, what jumps out at me, which I see as an opportunity, is this next slide. It says top box motivation has not changed for older voters, but rose prior to the election for younger voters. While Gen X and millennials have seen their motivation return to off-year levels, motivation has interestingly continued to rise for Gen Z. You look at this chart right here. It's about the same for baby boomers, 90%. Gen X, Gen X has gone from 80 to 77, down to 70, up to 79, up to 90, down to 78. You see millennials, 76, 69, 66, 62, jump to 80, down to 66. But my God, June of 2024, Gen Z, 18 to 28, was 52%. Today, 76%. That is a huge, and so again, I know you looked at with your 12 and 11, but I'm going back to that from year to year. You're talking about Gen Z jumping 24 points. You look at millennials jumping 4 points. You look at Gen X dropping 1 point, and you look at baby boomers going up +3. What that says is that, and again, I'm gonna bring in Mamdani in New York. When you see that 24% jump among Gen Z, that means that they are engaged, but you better be speaking to them and they see what's happening policy-wise and how it's impacting them. So Democrats, if they were smart, they have an opportunity where if you take millennials and Gen Z, they represent the largest demographic in the country. They've surpassed baby boomers. They better understand they're ready, but as you just said, you got to talk to them.
You got to talk to them, and you got to talk to them about the things that they care about, not the things that you want them to care about. And that's part of the problem, I think, that we saw across within the poll across, segments of the Black electorate. Folks are very clear about the issues that they care about. They run the gamut. They care about voting rights. They are worried that rights are going to be stripped. They're concerned about the decisions that the Supreme Court is making. They're concerned about the rollback of even policies that we saw, the Biden administration put in place. So you have to talk to them about issues that they care about and not try and force them into some really small box that's going to shut them down. And I think that, when this poll also revealed to us, like, that this was not a poll that was, it wasn't a messaging poll. It wasn't a poll to try and move people. But what we saw was that by the end of the poll, we asked the question at the top, how motivated were folks to vote? When we asked the question again at the end, we saw an 18% increase in motivation to vote. And that's just because the poll talked about issues that they cared about. So this is with us doing, just having a straight conversation with voters. We saw a shocking kind of increase in the number of people who moved to say, yes, I am now motivated to vote after just listening to a pollster on my phone ask me about these issues. So yes, focus on the things that people care about, have real conversations with them, because people are ready. They know what the stakes are. I think Black voters before the election certainly were saying, we understand the devastation that a second Trump administration will bring to this country and to our communities. We were, the constituency, the group of Americans who were most clear about what a second Trump administration would mean. And I think people are clear about it now, and they're fighting. And what we're seeing in terms of those two age demographics in particular, they are leading the resistance, as young people always have historically in this country and for our community.
Let's go to the panel. Niambi, you first.
Yeah, so when you were talking about the other issues that people care about, what really is there a singular issue that seems to be motivating people or keeping people away? Because outside of real issues with the party, what are the things that people feel are being missed or overlooked?
Adrianne, before you answer that, pull up the screen, y'all, so while she answers that, this is, despite growing angst, Trump continues to be seen as the top threat. And so what's on the screen, Adrianne, are the threats to the African-American community. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is important because this is the question that I was saying that we've been asking folks over the last few election cycles. And so the issues that are in there that I think are important are the lack of economic opportunity, the lack of educational opportunity. We see a real concern around Social Security, not just among older generations. And that was a little bit surprising to us. So Social Security is a huge issue. People are concerned about their future. Obviously, people are concerned about crime. But there are, I think the educational issues are the ones that stand out in a way. In addition to, there's a whole list, and this is why it's hard. The issues that people care about are many, and they are. People feel like when we look at, for example, we ask the question about what are the things that Trump has done that people care about most. And all of them were top box issues, right? People care about the erasure of Black history. Right. People care about the federal workforce being laid off. And that's certainly tied into this sort of, eroding of economic opportunity. People care about the Department of Education being dismantled. The things that Trump has been, the military, using the military, right, to come into our streets. People care about a whole host of issues. The question I think, is are they going to speak to those issues, or are they going to be afraid to talk about those issues because they think they're going to lose white voters?
Larry.
Yeah, it's really interesting in terms of some data points. Can you talk about the Democratic Party and where kind of people are, the Black community are shifting, so to speak. Can you talk a little bit about any questions related to, leadership, particularly we talk about Schumer and Congressman Jeffries. Were any of the questions that related to specific, Democratic leaders in terms of their vision and how members of the Black community are feeling about, Black leadership, even members of the CDC?
Yeah, we had a thermometer question that we always have, which is essentially how do folks feel about particular leaders. And I would say that in that thermometer, there should be some real concerns again for Democrats. I think that Democrats in Congress.
Adrian, we're showing it right now.
The thermometer was fairly low for Democrats overall. I think Senator Schumer's numbers were lower than they have been in our previous polls. I think that, of course, Trump and Republicans' numbers are, completely, bottomed out, right? But the one thing that I think was somewhat surprising to us, I won't say completely surprising to us, but somewhat surprising to us, was the thermometer for Representative Jasmine Crockett. Her thermometer numbers were approaching Obama levels, and it was pretty surprising to us how high she was. She was second behind Obama in terms of the people's feelings toward her and her leadership.
All right, so hold on. I'm trying to find that. Let's see. Where is that? Where is it? I'm looking here. Which part of the slide was that specific?
I'm not. Let me look.
Hold on. I'm looking. I see dim traits. I see angst. Because I don't see anything specific to candidates. Because I do want to show that.
Not candidates necessarily.
No, I'm sorry, not candidates. But I'm looking for those names: Schumer, Jeffries.
Well, I may be giving you all a tidbit that we didn't share in the deck that we sent.
Adrian, you got to share that with us. I'm looking for it. I'm like, hold up.
I'm scrolling myself. I'm revealing trade secrets here.
you need to send that to me then, so I can see what you're talking about.
I'll send it. But it is. I mean, I think that the question about how people feel about dim leadership, I would say that the numbers are lukewarm to cool, and so that's not a good sign for them for most of Democratic leadership.
Larry.
Oh, I think I answered my question already.
I'm sorry, I'm a Congo.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much, Adrian, for this work. It's really great to see, and I look forward to reading in more in detail. What do you feel are the top two issues for the younger generations? Roland just said that, the Gen Zs and millennials are the largest voting bloc right now. But so many people look at the Black vote and just say they're all concerned about race at every level. Are they as concerned as Gen Xers and Boomers? Are there one or two other issues that are bigger for them right now?
So I would say that it is really the things that I said before. Folks are concerned about racism and the rise in white supremacy and all that means, right? That means many things in terms of the way that shows up. So folks are concerned about that. They are also concerned about the rollback of rights in general. They are concerned about these ICE raids and deportations. They are, and I think we see some of the activism that follows that concern. Like we've seen that, on news reports, right? Like they're out there. So I think that there really is, and they're certainly concerned about economic opportunities as well. And I don't want to, short sell the fact that people are deeply concerned about the economy. I think the direct question about the economy is a reflection of people's deep anxiety and worry and concern about the future. That is true. But this idea that the country has turned into a version of the United States of America that they have only read about in textbooks and might not be able to read about them in textbooks again, right? But the fact that the country seems to be, going into factory, reset and returning to its original, form is a thing that I think the two younger generation, but certainly Gen Z, is deeply concerned about, because again, if you think about their trajectory, right, their sort of history in this country, it's been very much up and down. I mean, they were coming of age, or they were younger when there was Obama, and then they got Trump, and then they got every other week a video of, as you all were talking about earlier, of Black folks being murdered by police, and so they are they have a real completely legitimate worry that the country that we are currently sitting in is a reflection of some historic past that they did not have any idea that they would ever have. And in some ways, their opinions, what they express as their understanding of the world and what needs to be done, or of the country and what needs to be done, matches a lot the opinions and concerns of boomers. And so the reason why that's important is because it is that legacy generation who lived that era. And so Gen Z and our legacy generation, at many data points, are kind of meeting, right? And we've seen that over the last couple of years in our polling.
All right, so I'm throw this one out here. So it says nearly 2/3 of voters prefer a Democrat standing up for our rights, but a significant minority of millennials opt for Democrats to be less woke. Now, y'all have here, it says less woke. It says Democrats are too caught up in identity politics and wokeness. They need to stop spending so much of their time fighting these so-called culture wars and trying to protect the rights of certain groups, and instead focus on economic issues and a plan to help the working class. Democrats need to stay focused on the economic issues of the working class first, and worry less about peripheral groups. Now, I'm looking at this, and it doesn't specify, but I'm gonna say what I think this is based upon conversations that I've had people all across the country. Right there, when you see that 17%, because you're talking about that green space right there, that's the 17%. And then when you break that down, correct me if I'm wrong, down here, that's much more likely Democrat A, less woke, and is much more likely Democrat A, less woke. When I look down here, it says total 17%, Gen Z 13, Millennial 21, Gen X 18, Boomers 14, but right here is the key. Men 25, cool on Dems 24. Okay, what they're saying right here, and maybe you already have it, they're actually saying trans. That's what when they're talking about less woke, peripheral groups, identity, Adrianne, is that who they're talking about? Because that's what I've heard a lot of people talk about, but people don't really want to say it, but that's what
I don't think so. So, and the reason why I say that is because there's another slide, and I will not be able to find the number for you. But there's another slide where we ask which are the executive orders and other actions that Trump has taken,
right,
that concern you the most. And so there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all top box. The one that is not top box is trans athletes.
So when they say, no, I don't mean trans athletes. So when they say less woke, what does that mean?
So I actually feel like so I will say this. I would say a couple of things about this. One, I think we need to actually dig deeper into what that is.
Yes, we do.
Right? So we need to dig a little bit deeper into what that means, what people are actually talking about. I would say that based on the other kinds of questions that we ask in this poll, my assertion would be that they are actually focusing more on that economic piece because millennials have high economic anxiety.
Right.
So I think that they're probably focused more on that economic piece than potentially on the culture wars, but people define culture wars differently as well, and so it could be that that they are concerned about whatever the sort of culture wars that Republicans define, right? It could be that they're concerned about hearing Democrats also following suit on some of those Republican lines of argument, right? Could be that. I mean, I think we would need to dig deeper, but I think that the other point that's important here is that they stand out from everyone else. Right. I think this is the point that you're making. They stand out from everyone else.
Well, I was making the point because even when I look at a lot of these white Democrats, when they talk about it, they always, let's woke, let's woke. I always go, okay, what you talking about? What are you talking about? And see, nobody ever wants to actually say that. And in conversations that I've had with men and women and different people, what often comes up is Democrats spend way too much time on trans. And when you look at that, ad, when Trump's ad utilizing Charlamagne and DJ Envy polls second highest, when I looked at that 25% of being men, that's one of these things. And so whenever I see the idea of be less woke, I always go, okay, I need folks to name what that is. Not the phrase, but name what that is, because a lot of times folk don't want to name it. They say it, but they don't really want to name it.
Yeah, I think that when I hear Democrats and Republicans say less woke, I think they're talking about black people, right? I think they're talking about...
but in this case, this is black people, though. So when black people say less woke, I wonder what we're talking about.
Yeah, point well taken. And again, I think that the question for me that requires more digging, right, is what are people saying? And are they talking about specific issues that are being defined by Republicans and some Democrats, or are they saying that they don't want Democrats talking about those issues, right? I think that's an unclarity for me. The other data point I will say is that when asked the direct question about whether or not people care about trans issues, and specifically the issue of trans athletes, that was the thing that people cared about the least in terms of the things that Trump has done.
Yeah, I see that because based upon the Trump EOs, and so it's a whole lot to unpack in this, but it really is important for people to do that. Hold on, here's right here. It says positive traits. Black voters are seeing Democrats fight for other groups more than for their own community and concerns. They want to see Democrats fighting for them just as much as for other people. And then fight for women, it says 87% totally agree. Fight for LGBTQ+, 85%. Fight against racism, 42%. Fight for Hispanic, 36%. Fight for African Americans, 29%. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think that people believe that the issues that even the things that I've talked about here, that Democrats aren't standing up for those things. That they're walking away from them. And I also think that we're hearing, in the mainstream media, we're hearing Democrats say things like that.
Yeah.
You're hearing them talk about, we're not going to talk about these issues. You heard Nancy Pelosi saying the other day that, the Epstein files was a distraction and that they just need to talk about bread and butter issues. When in fact, if part of Democrats' central argument for why Trump shouldn't be president is that he is depraved and unfit, then this question around the Epstein files is central to that argument, right? And so I think this idea that somehow Democrats can just reduce, and we saw this after 2016 as well, this idea that we just need to talk about the economy and everything will be fine because black people will vote for us and white folks who have gone over to the other side will come back. We know that's not true because we know that that's not the totality of people's lives. People want to be able to, first of all, have hope and some aspiration that America will be the America that they were promised that it would be. And that includes equality, and it includes fairness, and it includes justice. And if Democrats aren't talking about those kind of core central values, then it appears that they are fighting for other people and not for the black community.
Last point here. I sound like a Baptist preacher. I'm going to close 3 times. Let me find it right here because it jumped out at me in terms of where you're getting information from. It says here, first of all, before I go to this, people need to understand the breakdown here. It was really close in terms of when y'all had Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers. And I think in the poll, if I go to the slide, you probably had more millennials in this percentage than anybody else. So it wasn't weighted more towards baby boomers. But it says here, in terms of, and this is what I need people to understand. We start talking about information because you got to know where they're getting it from. According to your poll, social media sites for information, YouTube is number one, 86%, Facebook 69%, Instagram is 60%, TikTok is 46%, X, Twitter is 22%, and then you go Twitch, Blue Sky, Substack. So for everybody out there who keeps going, oh, YouTube and especially Facebook, that's what all them old people. Yeah. Those are the two largest where they're getting information from. That's critical. And then let's see here was another one. Blue Sky users are slightly warmer to Democrats, while Twitch users are cooler. Why is that important? Because Twitch also, a lot of young folks, a lot of gamers. That's kind of important. And then it says YouTube is the most used app across all groups. Progressives must take the battle to the GOP, particularly in this space. Now, why is that important for everybody who's watching? Because somebody sent me this a little earlier today. When you talk about growth among, y'all just give me a second because I got 3 devices working at one time. So I want y'all to understand Maxwell. Let me pull this person up. Somebody sent me this tweet earlier of this individual, and it showed the most growth on YouTube in the past 3 months. Now, the first 3 months of this year, we were in the top 20. But that's cooled off some. Now, I don't necessarily believe all of these people are real because this person was getting a ton of money from the Russians. And so, but this says fastest growing political and political adjacent YouTube channels by net new subscribers. And so you see right here, okay, right-winger Benny Johnson, 1, Fox News, 2, Charlie Kirk, 5, Joe Rogan, 6, Tim Pool, another person was getting money from Russia, is 8, Turning Point USA, 9, Tucker Carlson, 10, Sean Ryan, 12, and then Asmongold. So if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 of those top folks, all right-wing. And so the reality is their numbers are blowing up on YouTube because they made a very concerted effort. They also cross-pollinate in terms of sharing information. And when you talk about investment from groups in terms of advertising or whatever, they are feeding those channels, which allows for them to market, improve their product. And the reality is progressives aren't doing that at all. If I pulled up right now the YouTube chart that showed you, the YouTube chart showed you the top 100 YouTube shows, what people are going to see is they're going to see a lot of right-wingers in the top 20, in the top 100, because that's who's driving it. And so folks just need to understand what's going on here in terms of the ideological battle that's happening on YouTube right now.
That's right. And you could see across the board, it's the top, app that people are using. It is a place where, there is a battle happening, and we are losing. And we know that our people, it isn't just that our people are also watching those shows. I mean, we did, our focus groups earlier in the year, we asked people what shows they watch, what were they watching on social media, who were they following on Instagram and TikTok. And, on YouTube, they're watching Joe Rogan. Right. And it isn't that they're still voting for Democrats, or they're still turning out, but they're getting that information. Right. So it's shaping people's understanding. And again, when we talk about misinformation and disinformation and propaganda, when it shows up in that way, like we ask people, do you go to these places to get political information? And folks said no. But the issue here is that the ads are coming up while they're watching these shows.
And in fact, they're doing it to us. In fact, people don't understand, the right-wingers are buying ad space on YouTube to show up on this show.
Yes.
And this is, and for all you Simple Simons out there who were bitching and moaning when the Kamala Harris campaign did $350,000 in advertising with us, when it should have been actually 3 times that much for all y'all who are tripping. Folks were like, oh yeah, you taking $350,000 from them. Oh, well, guess what? That same Benny Johnson I showed, he was getting hundreds of thousands through a Russian front company every month. Tim Pool was doing the exact same thing. The Republicans dump advertising money into all of these shows. So people don't even understand the game, Adrian. Folks need to understand this right here is a YouTube weekly top podcast for July 7th through the 13th. Remember that guy who cracked all of those racist jokes at the Trump Madison Square Garden rally and he got reamed? That's Kill Tony. He is #1 for this week on YouTube. Joe Rogan is 2. Progressive Midas Touch is 3. Then you see 48 Hours. You see all of a sudden you see Sean Ryan, Tucker Carlson. You see progressive Brian Tyler Cohen. Then all of a sudden, right-winger PDB right here. A right-winger Theo Vaughn. Right-winger Megyn Kelly. Right-winger Tim Cass. The Vori Darkins. Then you see, you can go on and on and on. And now, for African Americans, I need people to pay attention. Highest ranking, well, first, I don't know who this DeVory Dawkins is, but Gilbert Arenas, he's 21, sports. Club Shay Shay is 24. Then you keep going. Let's see here. I just like people need to understand. Carmelo Anthony, number 34. Tim Pool is a right winger. He has 2. He's at 36. The Pivot podcast, number 40. Sports Guys, 85 South Comedy Show. The Comedic Brothers out of Atlanta, right there. 5 Club 520 podcast, 520 in the morning, African American as well. All right, so you keep going. Joe Button, 59. And I'm not criticizing them. I'm just showing people the numbers. These are the numbers. Then all of a sudden you keep going. Right winger Ben Shapiro. Now, that's us at 78. We are the only black news show, the only black non-entertainment sports show in YouTube's top 100. So to your point, where are black people getting their information from? It's from other people, because on March 4th, when we did our special, the State of Our Union, we showed our power. 250,000 people watched us live. If I look right now, it's 3,400. So where are the other 247,000 that are watching March 4th? So when we say, hey, we don't have the information, we're watching sports and entertainment.
That's right. And this is the whole game, right? This is the whole game. We wonder why millions and millions of black folks stayed home, is because they were getting information that suggested from all these different podcasts and the ads that were coming across all their social media feeds that they should stay home. And what there wasn't was a robust counter narrative coming through shows that care about our people, right? That care about our future, that want to make sure that our community is informed. Those shows, yours, of course, right, stands out. But why don't we have an ecosystem that is informing people, and not just the black community, right? Other communities as well. Why don't we have a similar ecosystem? Why is it not being invested in? Why do people take it for granted? Why do people think they can wait to the last minute and just put ads up on traditional television where no one is watching? Certainly not the voters that we need to turn. Certainly not the folks that we need to be informed so that they can be engaged. It is a total mismatch. It is malpractice in terms of people who say that our democracy is so important that we need to do everything that we can, and yet we are willing to give away the information ecosystem.
And the last one here, since y'all dropped your poll, how many media outlets have booked y'all to discuss it?
That'd be you. And I think that this is the same question you asked me with the last poll, and I had to say that would be you.
And folks, this ain't about ego while I'm asking that question, because I'm trying to explain to y'all this the problem. Since Joy's show got canceled on MSNBC, how many NBC shows are booking Adrian to discuss the BlackPAC poll? And here's the crazy thing. Your poll was done by Cornell Belcher, who's an analyst for NBC.
Yes.
So I need people watching to understand that if you do not have black-owned media, the reality is this BlackPAC poll, folks would see it if it's on social because the very shows are not booking. So radio shows should be talking about this and others, but the problem, and I said this when Tom Joyner retired, I said, and that was part of the reason why I launched this show. I said, when we lose the Tom Joyner Morning Show, we're going to lose a major cog that drove black news and information across the country. And I don't care, y'all can talk all y'all want about the Breakfast Club and all the rest of these shows, but if you take the Breakfast Club, Ricky Smiley, D.L. Hughley, Erica Campbell, Steve Harvey, and put all the black syndicated shows together, combined, they do not do as much black news and information as the Tom Joyner Morning Show did. And so, to Adrian's point, if we do not have the black media ecosystem that's driving our messaging out, so we got to support and invest in shows like this. And that's why we got 4 other shows, because I can't be every damn where, but it's a dearth of information that we are facing.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
Great job with the poll. We'll push this out on social. Adrian, thanks a lot.
I appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. You know, I can't make this point enough, Niambi, and I need people to really understand. Go back to my iPad. When you look at this top 100, I'm going to start with 100. Rubin Report, guess what? Right-winger. Nancy Grace, right-winger. Young Turks, progressive, but they all over the place these days. Will Kane Country, Fox News, right-winger. I mean, you start going up this list, and it is a ton of right-wing people. And again, it's not being arrogant or cocky, but we're the only in the top 100. And we were off and on for the past couple of weeks. We were on 1 week, off 1 week. But us at 78, yo, there's no, outside of sports entertainment, there's nobody else black.
Mm-hmm. And I think you highlighted something that's really important, Roland, is the dearth of black media. I mean, with the exception of a few stations, we can think about folks like Harold Fisher and WHUR, but clearly there aren't many. And when we think about how local media has just been hollowed out, there are even fewer outlets. And one thing I will say about conservatives, they have long understood the media environment and have made themselves or availed themselves of everything, whether we're talking about radio with Rush Limbaugh in his day, and even the televangelists, right? They had networks. They had that whole messaging from records to video. I mean, like, they understood that they might not win on the numbers, but if they can get people's ears and they can get their eyeballs and they can get in their mind, then they can do some things, and they've moved the needle politically. I mean, the Dobbs decision didn't just come out of thin air. That was 60 years of campaigning that happened on conservatives. So they've been innovators for a very long time in the media space, and they were early adopters of social media and being online and being perpetually and chronically online, bringing people to these different platforms, from YouTube to the podcast. So, I mean, this is part of the reason why I think Republicans have been so successful through the years, because on the numbers, most people don't want what their politics are. But they have been able to draw enough people in with a convincing message. They know how to stay on message, and they are extraordinarily disciplined. And they sprinkle themselves throughout so many environments, from school boards to radio and TV and everywhere else in between. And I think the thing about conservatives is they leave no stone unturned, whereas Democrats will still leave things on the table. Conservatives don't take for granted that people are just going to be persuaded by policy, right? I mean, most people don't like their policies, but they like their messaging about their policies. And that's what gets them every time.
Omekongo, I remember discussing this story. This story here dropped January 4th, 2020. And it was in the New York Times. And it was right-wing views for Generation Z, 5 minutes at a time. Dennis Prager launching PragerU, a fake university. But Candace Owens came through there. The story showed, and I remember sending this to progressives saying, y'all better pay attention. And the story laid out how they raised their whole goal was to, they said they were trying to do, they did 1 billion views their first year, how they went out and targeted Hispanics and others, how they went out and raised $7 million from a couple of billionaires from Texas. And an article laid all of these things out, matter of fact, I'm gonna pull up another story. And what was interesting about this story, when you were reading it, was what their goal was, and again, how they were going to build it. And people were like, yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm telling y'all. And guess what we now see? We now see PragerU content for kids now in schools, because Republicans control them in Oklahoma, Texas, Florida, and others. And so they raised $22 million their first year, $25 million their second year. That's real. And I said to progressives, y'all are running around here trying to make movies and animated film. They saw YouTube as the power long ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's almost like following Niambi's point. It's almost like YouTube is the new AM radio for them, because they dominated back in the days with AM.
No. YouTube is ABC, NBC, CBS for them, because YouTube is the largest video platform in the world. They are bigger than Netflix.
I didn't realize they're bigger than Netflix.
They're bigger than Netflix.
Wow. But going to your point on PragerU, I show PragerU videos in my intercultural communication class every semester to let our students understand what their propaganda is all about. And to go to your point further with them, PragerU is now partnering with the Department of Education to produce videos on the founding of America for America at 250 years. So that's how deep this fake university, this fake organization is going. The Republicans do not play as it relates to propaganda. They do not miss an opportunity to get out there and control the message. Even if you go on YouTube right now, you got all of these people, guys like me, who speak on like diversity, equity, and inclusion and things like that. But if you type it into YouTube, like the first 25 videos are going to be something about from like Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro. It's going to be anti-DEI folks. That's how prolific they are with what they're doing. And the fact that we're spending so much time looking to be entertained on these platforms, it shows the dirt where the real problem is. And I'm hoping that this survey, that the study that the sister did with Cornell can get out more, so people can really start understanding that all of these networks out there, they're training their eyes on YouTube, the Instagram, the Facebook, and our young people are still going there. If we do not learn the lesson now, seeing what Joe Rogan and all of these other guys are doing, we can easily be in those spaces crushing it. If we could just be half as serious as you are with the Black Star Network, we can make some real changes. And PragerU is another example of their propaganda machine on full blast. We should have paid attention when you said we should have.
This is what folks are not getting, Larry. Go to my iPad. Streaming services captured 44.8% of all television viewership, while traditional broadcast and cable networks combined for 44.2%. The broadcast networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, accounted for 20.1% of the viewership. They lost to cable, which was at 24.1%. So folks need to understand that more people are watching streaming networks. They are streaming content more than they're watching cable and broadcast. And of the network streaming, YouTube is number one. That's first. The second point, which we've been trying to get people to understand here, Larry, is that why investment matters. All right? We ain't had PragerU got $22 million its first year, $25 million its second year. That's $47 million they got to build their network. They hit 1 billion views its first year. Well, hell, when you raise $22 million and you can hire the engineers who are studying the algorithm, who can pump the content out, you can actually do this. And so that's what happens. We ain't had, listen, our fan base has contributed $4.3 million in 7 years. You look at what we've generated with advertising. It don't even come close to no 22 million. But we've been building it and making do. The point I'm making is this is an arms battle, and progressives, African Americans, liberals, everybody want to put in that category, completely misunderstanding what's going on. And while we as black people are giving money to Zeus Network and we're watching all of these entertainment and sports networks, they are focused on news and information. And that's one of the reasons why people are ill-informed about what's going on, because as our promo where Jeff Carr says, bring your eyeballs home. Wherever our black eyeballs go, that's where our attention goes. That's where our money goes.
Yeah, you really highlighted some really important points. And one thing I want to talk about, you just talked about the PragerU in terms of the money. The relationship between the misinformation via whatever, platforms, YouTube, et cetera, X, and the wealth gap in America. Right now, Roland, you talked about PragerU getting all this money. I remember PragerU a few years ago was just some kind of, concept or idea. I never thought it would reach the heights it has reached right now. And like you said, many states and working with the federal government. But the point you highlighted needs to be clear to those who are watching in terms of the actual resource gap, in terms of what folk, people who have the resources are investing in. Listen, we have, certainly there's, like I said, there's a wealth gap between black and whites, but there are a lot of black folks who have enough resources to contribute to your platforms and to support other opportunities to put information out there to make sure the black community is well informed. But we're not seeing that. And what are some of the implications? We just saw what you highlighted. You've talked about a lot the last couple of days in particular in terms of the number of black people who didn't vote. And now what we're doing with in terms of the challenges the black communities encounter and will continue to encounter over the next couple of years. Listen, we've lost the platform in the misinformation battle, but we can't afford to lose the war because the challenges we're dealing with are going to be ongoing and generational. So you're playing catch up. So you have to make sure, once again, like you said, Roland, the resources, and we had to make sure that, platforms like yours continue to have the resources they need to put out a counter to a lot of the misinformation that a lot of black folks are getting. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people that I know or encounter that I have to tell them that some information they came across, particularly during the election, is not accurate. And so we're seeing a lot of, even with college educated black folks, it's not about educational background. This is about the platforms you consume and the misinformation that you're being fed and that you believe without checking second, third, and fourth sources. So we need to continue to invest in platforms like you. But this misinformation, it is widespread among black folks of all backgrounds.
So here's what people need to understand. And this is a perfect example. Damian Foster just puts in our group chat, you need to train someone or a group of someones. You do know we have other shows on the network. That's what we've been doing. We've had other shows that we canceled because, frankly, they weren't moving the needle. So I need people to understand what's going on here, okay? And I have been talking about this ad nauseum so our people understand the ecosystem, okay? To understand what's going on here. The reality is everything that you see costs money. If you're watching the show right now, the lighting of the show looks different. It does. Give me a wide shot. The lighting of the show looks different. Why is that? Because we just finished, don't give me a wide shot, give me a wide shot. The lighting looks different because give me this shot and give me the other, give me the camera facing that way. So the lighting that you're seeing right here was a $70,000, give me to the other camera that's facing the set piece. You're seeing a $70,000 lighting upgrade. That's what you're seeing, okay? That lit the news desk, lit the set piece over there, that also lit our green screen. That was $70,000. While that was happening, we were doing a $40,000 IT upgrade in here as well, okay? We're looking at our robotic cameras where we got 10, 12, so the question is how many more do we need? So why am I explaining all of that? Because that's money. That's money. In order for you to build a network, you got to have infrastructure. Infrastructure means studio, it means staff, it means equipment, it means all of those different things as well. So when you're competing against, again, a Benny Johnson who got hundreds of $1,000s from Russia through a front company, and him and Tim Pool, I'll just give y'all an example. I'm gonna pull it up right here. Let's see here. This was a PBR, how Russia covertly hired US influencers to create viral videos. Yep, all of these people were named, $10 million. Okay, these two Russia Today staffers funneled $10 million to these various right-wingers to produce these videos. That's just, it was actually in an indictment. Right there. Look at this here. Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, David Rubin, Lauren Southern. All these videos that they did were being funded. Look at this here. One influencer was paid $400,000 a month. $100,000 signing bonus. And y'all, his was crazy. And an additional performance bonus in exchange for 4 videos a week. Y'all, that is 16 videos. That's all he did for $400,000 a month. Do the math. That's almost $5 million a year from that one funding source. So if I had a sponsor that was kicking us $400,000 a month, don't you think we would have more digital people pumping out content? We'll be able to spend money on ads and marketing to be able to boost. Need y'all to understand what's going on here. Now, expand this. The media business is driven by advertising. What happens when it comes to general market? We're talking Fortune 500 companies, all the commercials you see. $350 to $400 billion is spent every single year. Black-owned media gets 0.5 to 1%. That's all black-owned media. That's everybody that's black-owned media collectively gets that 0.5 to 1%. The federal government spends $1 billion a year on advertising. What does black-owned media get? 1% of that as well. So black-owned media is getting barely 1% of the $400 billion spent in general market, $1 billion of the federal government, and now when you talk politics, black-owned media got $22 million out of the more than $1 billion spent by the Harris campaign and the Future Forward Political Action Committee.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So when folks sit here and go, yeah, man, you shouldn't have took no $350,000. All black-owned media, $22 million out of more than $1 billion. I think it was $1.5 billion. So if black-owned media is not getting political advertising money, federal government advertising money, general market advertising money, well, please explain to me, how can we build and grow? Do y'all now see what I'm talking about? Now, when I talked about the 250,000 people who watch, I just need people to understand, this is math, y'all. This is just basic, fundamental math. We had 250,000 people who watched us at our peak on March 4th, okay? That's 250,000. So imagine if 250,000 people were watching this show on a daily basis, okay? That's 250,000. Okay, if you're talking about 30 days over the course of a show, that's 7.5 million views. Actually, it's going to be way more than that as well in terms of how it's calculated. So if all of a sudden we're now doing 40, 50, 60 million views a month, all of a sudden you're now talking about generating 5 to 7 to 800,000 just on YouTube. So now you're increasing your revenue there and you're getting these other advertising. So now all of a sudden, now just lay it out. If we were doing 10 million, I'm gonna mess y'all up. If we were doing $10 million a year in revenue, I'm just gonna say 10. There's an office right next door to us where we could actually put 10 production staff writers in there. So now all of a sudden, you would actually have folks who are writing stories, because you know we are completely retooling BlackStarNetwork.com to drive content. Imagine if you then were able to hire 10 what we call predators, producer editors, and that is people who are digital specialists, multimedia folks, we call them one-man bands as well, and then we had them in 10 cities across the country. So we have a designated person in, let's say, Dallas, Houston, Charlotte, let's say a couple in New York, couple in LA, somebody, let's say 2 or 3 in Atlanta. Now all of a sudden your footprint now begins to expand. Now, when it comes to driving content, we can be like a lot of these other folks as well. That's at 10, 12 million a year. Now imagine if we had PragerU money. See, I need people watching to kind of understand where I'm going here, because I'm trying to paint a picture that one of the reasons we have problems is because Black-owned media is systematically frozen out of the marketplace. So when I talk about the 1% and how we get screwed by Publicis Advertising Agency and Group M and Horizon and Omnicom, and I can keep naming all of these ad agencies, and how they won't even return our phone calls, Dentsu, they won't even sit here and give us insertion orders or RFPs, we can go down the line, then how do you think we're able to generate money and build staff? This is the problem. And when I talk about this, folks go, but if I post something that's gossipy on Instagram or social media, it'll get 20, 30,000 likes and 2,000, 3,000 comments. So I need Black people to understand there's a reason Ebony is almost non-existent. They're trying to rebrand. Jet doesn't exist. There's a reason why Essence is a 3-day festival company and not the magazine it used to be. There's a reason that Black Enterprise basically doesn't even cover business anymore. They are a conference event company. There's a reason why you see fewer, you have 4 Black-owned talk stations in the country. That's it. 4. When you talk about, so the entire Black-owned media ecosystem that we were able to survive on and thrive on from the launch of the nation's first Black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, March 16, 1827, going all the way through Frederick Douglass in the North Star, Ida B. Wells Barnett and her paper in Memphis that was firebombed, the Pittsburgh Courier, Chicago Defender, Atlanta Daily World, and on and on and on, going through Michigan Chronicle, going through Ebony, Negro Digest, Ebony Jet, Emerge, Black Enterprise, all the way through. If you look at that history, that is virtually gone. And now we are in a position to where we are solely dependent on a small handful of folks. And for the most part, it's Shade Room, Hollywood Unlocked, Ball Alert, Jasmine Brand, that are Instagram pages and websites for information. And then people go, man, why didn't we know what was going on? Because Black-owned media has been absolutely systematically eradicated and decimated. And so I don't want to be sitting in this position when I'm 70. I don't want to sit, I'll be honest with y'all, I'm 57 in November. We've signed an 8-year lease. I don't plan to be sitting in this seat when I'm 65. But we have to be able to build, grow, and hire people and build them up. So over the course of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, then their following will be like mine is right now, and we're trying to build an ecosystem. So when some of y'all bitch and moan about, man, you taking money from the Democrats, well, Republicans damn sure weren't spending money. Oh, I take that back. Republicans were spending money on my show. They weren't paying me. They paid YouTube to run the ads during the commercial breaks on my show. So they value my show, my audience, but they like, no, we're going to pay YouTube. So I need everybody watching to understand we are in the position we're in right now, not by our choosing, but because there has been a wholesale destruction of Black-owned media by practicing economic apartheid, by ad agencies, and by major brands because they want us buying their products, but they don't want to invest in our media. Final round of comments from my panelists. I'll start with you, Niambi.
Well, I mean, I think you highlighted the sort of foundational problem that so many Black institutions face, especially the Black media, is that we need Black support to thrive. And a lot of people don't value Black media and certainly don't want to put money in the hands of Black media brands and companies. And I think it's really unfortunate, especially in this time when good information is so critical, right? I mean, one of the things your show talks about a lot is media literacy on a host of levels, not just how the media works, but how to be good consumers of media. This is why we need those Black spaces again, because so much of what we talk about now is driven by culture, right? Like about sports or entertainment. But these political issues that are ongoing, whether we're talking about police brutality or important bills that are happening, things that are germane to our community, only Black media are going to cover some of these stories. And that's why that media has sustained us and been so important for so long. And so, I mean, I think it's a really unfortunate circumstance, just listening, just thinking about all of these media outlets that don't exist anymore that I grew up on and that I had the privilege of getting to know.
Absolutely. Omekongo?
It's really sad the way you lay it all out. And, you talk about this so frequently, and particularly with the young folks coming up, it's like we say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. It's like, if you're not going to be involved in actively consuming information about Black people, about our culture, and getting it from Black sources, then you're going to be, victim to anything that's out there, and you're going to fall for all type of game. I see people talking about, Target boycotts and all of this, and they're getting the information from the most random sources. And people have to understand that if we're going to make some real headway in 2026 and 2028, I'm not even just talking about just politically. I'm just talking about in establishing ourselves in the dominant way that we should be in this culture. Is going to take Black information. We've not gotten this far without education and information. And if people think they're just going to do it building platforms and entertainment spaces and getting their residuals off of things like that, they're sadly mistaken. And that's going to be taken away from them too, because they're not going to be well informed enough to build a successful system. You're sitting here talking about you don't want to be here at 65. You want to have other people running the show. People don't have that long-term vision. And so people need to see this. They need to share it, because now is the time for us to really get on the good foot as it relates to how we control and dominate these information spaces. And like I said earlier, you laid out the blueprint. Other folks just got to follow it.
Larry?
Yeah, so let me say that when we talk about, countering misinformation, I think the panel I'm on right now, my esteemed colleagues, academics, and also authors. Listen, how often do you see three Black folks, like ourselves on your platform talking about issues that impact the Black community?
Well, first
you
of all,
don't see it.
MSNBC, the only Black professor you're going to see is Eddie Glaude. Lawyer regularly, Charles Coleman. You'll see Melissa Murray, who's a legal professor. I mean, right. I need people to understand, if you actually sat down and started counting who's on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, yeah, we'll have more Black people in 48 hours than all of those networks will have combined for a week. Go ahead.
Exactly. And that's my point, Roland. Black folks like us, we don't get an opportunity all the time to really talk about our research, our work that relates to the Black community and its important impact. And so your platform this evening and throughout the week, having folks like, from, law or, journalists, et cetera, on the platform who are Black, who care about passionate about the Black community to unpack very important topics, you're just not going to get that. For the folks who are watching, go ahead and get in Cash App or checks or whatever you need to do, because that's the only way you're going to get this informed conversation from Black folks who care and have the background to talk about really important issues that impact the Black community.
Indeed. Going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about the sad passage of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who died tragically swimming with his family vacation in Costa Rica. That's up next. Folks, support the show. It's critically important. I already said it. We ain't got millionaires and billionaires cutting us checks. And so, Cash App, you want to give to us, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on our screen. Or go to blackstarnetwork.com or RolandMartinUnfiltered.com for the link. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Of course, mail to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats like identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Like, absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, many of us were shocked and stunned today when TMZ reported that Malcolm-Jamal Warner drowned in Costa Rica while vacationing with his family. He was 54 years old. Of course, those of us who are in Gen X grew up watching Malcolm-Jamal Warner as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, airing from 1984 to 1992. Of course, that show broke barriers, portraying a successful black family and resonated with millions of viewers every single week. He later built a steady career as an actor, director, podcast host, and also a musician. He was with his family in Costa Rica on vacation. Authorities there say a strong current pulled him under, and despite rescue efforts, he didn't make it. He died of asphyxia. He was a native of New Jersey, began acting at the age of 9 years old, and again, Theo Huxtable was his breakout role. He leaves behind a wife, daughter, and a legacy that touched generations. So many people have been posting their tributes on social media. And I must say, the reason I think this hits differently, Omekongo, Larry, and Niambi, is because when we often talk about individuals that passed away, typically they were from the previous generation. When you think about Sidney Poitier, Harry Belafonte, when you think about Cicely Tyson, and I can go on naming others, but it's a lot different when it's someone that's frankly around a lot of our ages, who we all watched, who we all looked at growing up, who a lot of us met. I remember 2010, he co-hosted the Trumpet Awards with Nicole Ari Parker, and I was also a co-host along with Lisa Ray. And I remember cracking a joke with him on stage because, you know, Malcolm had this. I never forget, it was, matter of fact, I got to hit Don Jackson, try to get the video for y'all. And so we were, it was so funny because, so Lisa Ray and I were on this side of the stage, and Malcolm and Nicole were on that side of the stage, and Malcolm turns to Nicole and he goes, "Nicole, I must say you look ravishing," you know, in his really deep voice. And I go, "Hey, Malcolm, this is a Black Award show." I said, "This is how we do it." I turned to Lisa Ray, I say, "Damn, you fine." Audience cracked up laughing. He and I had a huge laugh backstage about that, just messing with him. But again, it hits different when there's someone who you grew up watching. And so when they were on playing, he was on playing a high school character, those of us, we were still in high school as well. And so that's what it was like.
Yeah, man, this is definitely tough. I mean, when you look at, the Cosby Show coming out in '84, I mean, at that particular time, there was no young black son on television really at that time. Like Family Matters and other shows came in like the late '80s. And so it was just him. And someone so close to our age growing up, watching him. And one of the things that he did, I mean, outside of the Cosby Show, he did a lot to raise awareness about AIDS and so many other projects. But through the Cosby Show and Cosby and the television work he was doing, he became he shined a light on dyslexia and learning disabilities. Became an educator in the classroom. Was devoted to his girlfriend, showing that black love with Justine and the like. So he was just a role model in real time for us on so many different levels. And even after that, with the spoken word and everything that he was doing. And I feel like many of us who didn't know him, like just kind of took him for granted, because he just represented greatness in every way, shape, and form. And, Roland, my mom passed out on June 6th. And one of my fondest memories is watching the Cosby Show, with her and my dad and my siblings. They just brought families together. And I just want to commend him for having a dignified career just throughout his entire time. And we just got to show him the love. People don't need to be out there talking about black people need to swim, learn how to swim. You get caught up in one of these currents, you can be the greatest swimmer ever, and it doesn't matter. So let's get that nonsense out of there. My thoughts go out to his family, his wife, his daughter, and we just lost a legend of our own time. And so you are right, Roland. It does hit differently. Rest in peace and power.
And certainly a condolences to you and your family for the loss of your mom. You're right. He did have dyslexia, of course, and Bill Cosby's son, Ennis, also had dyslexia, so they wrote that into the episode. And to his point, Niambe, that's why I think when you see this reaction, I mean, not obviously a peer, 54 years old, I'm 56, other folks who, in their early 50s or even older. But also just so unfortunate, being there on vacation with his family in Costa Rica. And what immediately brought me to mind, 2015, Johnny Kent was supposed to perform on the Tom Joyner Morning Show cruise. I was actually on that cruise and was walking along the rocks in Jamaica, fell, hit his head, and drowned. Then, and then, of course, I was only 3 years old when it happened, but Whitney Young, who was the president and CEO for a decade of the National Urban League, was swimming with friends in Lagos, Nigeria, and he drowned the same way. And so certainly that also brought back memories of that when this news came out.
Yeah, and I think, for many of us, I mean, we grew up with Malcolm-Jamal Warner on our television for decades. I was a very young kid when Cosby Show came out, and it was must-see TV. I mean, it was somewhere to rush. And Theo Huxtable was, like many people, my first crush. And to just see him live such an amazing, full life, and didn't fall into many of the traps of like the child star that unfortunately had claimed so many of his peers. It's just, it's always unfortunate when you lose someone, particularly when you lose someone that's so young and so vital and that had, still so much to offer. And I feel especially sorry for his young child and his wife, who are now having to imagine a life without him, because this was, I'm sure, supposed to be joyous and rejuvenating, and is now turned into one of the worst moments of their life. But I surely don't want his life to be defined by the tragedy that is his death, because he certainly had so much in him creatively that he shared with all of us so graciously and so openly. And at the end of the day, I think that's all that any artist wants to be able to do. So we definitely continue and will continue to remember and appreciate Malcolm-Jamal Warner for what he gave us.
And Larry, again, it's one of those things where you saw someone literally grow up before your very eyes on television while you were also growing up as well. And that was the case, whether it's Lisa Bonet, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, Keisha Knight Pulliam. It's always crazy when I'm out somewhere and I see Keisha Knight Pulliam and you're like, yo, that's Rudy. And again, it's someone who you remembers who was a small child, similar in age to my sisters. But then you see this person on air. And that's really what it was. And I think that's why when this thing hit, it was so difficult for a lot of people to comprehend.
This hit a lot of us of a certain age really hard today, Roland. There's no doubt about it. And listen, his role was like iconic. Let's call it what it was. The Gordon Gartrell, episode is a TV classic. In addition to that, he had a great career after that. We talk about the trappings of child actors, but he played a physician among other roles in sitcoms, etc. So he had an extraordinary career. And, I remember, as his character was having struggles in school. And listen, I was never a great student until I got to college. So I really appreciated that, to see that from, highly educated family, that, not all those kids followed the same path, even though eventually, as they wrote in the story, he figured things out. But I really identified with that character. And like you said, many of us, watched that show, and because it was definitely, it was new, fresh, and we had never really seen anything like that before. But like I said, his role was iconic. I'll send, all my condolences to his family, his wife, his daughter, and all those other family. But we're all impacted by this because, like I said, he played an incredible role for many of us who watched the show.
Indeed. Again, Malcolm-Jamal Warner passes away swimming in Costa Rica, dies at the age of 54. Condolences to his friends and family. We'll have more on his tragic death in his life on tomorrow's show. Folks, Trump made some announcement today regarding the MLK files. We don't give a shit because it's not really that important. This is just trying to distract from the Epstein stuff. So we'll read the statement from the family tomorrow, but just understand it's all BS, and he's just trying to change the subject. So we're not about to spend a whole lot of time talking about it because it's all trash anyway, because anything J. Edgar Hoover did with COINTELPRO, yeah, he was full of shit. All right, let me thank Larry Nyambe as well as Omi Congo to be on today's show. Thanks a bunch. Folks, don't forget, you want to support the work that we do, please join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your support is crucial to us being able to build and expand and grow the Black Star Network. Of course, if you want to contribute via Cash App, do so. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Go to Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network for the link. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mail to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. If you, of course, want to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, get it. It's available at bookstores nationwide. Get it online as well. Of course, get the audio version I read on Audible. You see it right there. Also, if you want to get our gear, you want to get our hats, mugs, t-shirts, all that good stuff, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can get our gear right here on the show, right here on the website. When you say shop the collection, go to my iPad, you see right here, our shirts, Resist 47, Stay Woke. Of course, Don't Blame Me and Vote for the Black Woman. MAGA chose between woke or broke. They chose broke. And you see all the other products. You see it all right here. So we got the t-shirts in black, t-shirts in white. So you can get it all right here, hoodies as well. So go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. If you want to get the other products that we have, the other black-owned products on shopblackstarnetwork.com, we have that. Give me a camera shot. We got some of them on our desk right here. The leafy tissues and toilet paper. We've got, of course, the other products. We got the coffee. We've got the various mixers, all that right there. So if you go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, you'll see all of the products that we have, which include Gym Wrap, again, John Thomas barbecue sauce, Fashion Fair, In Booze, Cologne Butter, HBCU Legacy Fashion, Kavan Foods, Ezra Coffee, Renegade Golf Company, get their golf balls, Batoy Sweet Treats, all that at shopblackstarnetwork.com. And also, folks, don't forget, we want you to download the app Fanbase. So download the app. If you want to invest in the fan base, you can do so at startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. And also, shout out to Trust Black Women. So I ran into them at Essence Fest. They were shooting a video. I busted up their video. I can't wait till they send it to them. I'm running on the show. So I told them to drop me off at the hotel. So they dropped me off some swag, so including this hat and this shirt right here. And you see, powered by Sister Song, And let's see here, go to sistersong.org. Yes, I'm reading upside down. Go to sistersong.org. If y'all want to get this. So they gave me this shirt in black and white, and they gave me a shirt that's black on black. So again, I appreciate Trust Black Women and sistersong.org for hooking me up. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Time for Truth Talks.